Let's just hop right into talking about Hadassah, One Night with the King. This novel by Tommy Tenney is a retelling of the story of Esther from the Bible. And I've been really excited about this one because I love the story of Esther. That is just a fantastic historical story, like very incredible. So I've been really excited to read Hadassah, and I did finally pick it up and read it. The novel is structured as a framed story, which means that there is something that happens in the beginning, and then you get the story, and then there's something at the end that, frames it. So in this one, there's another Hadassah that's more modern day, and she is about to get married in like a week or something. And so she is given the memoirs of Queen Hadassah, Queen Esther. And so you get like this opening where she gets the memoirs, that she's going to get married. And then the rest of the book is supposed to be Queen Esther's memoir that she's writing as like a letter to another queen candidate for a different king. And then at the very end, you get like that frame again where we skip to modern day and that Hadassah and her wedding day and like what she learned from the story. So that's an interesting way to frame it. I personally think that this would have done much better if it were not a memoir, if maybe somebody else had written down Queen Esther's experiences or something. Writing it as a memoir limited it, in my opinion, because now it's first person and it's just Queen Esther's perspective. So we don't get to see some of the other characters as much as I wish we had. And first person is just hard to pull off. It does sometimes work, but it very often means that you're limiting the readers and you're limiting what you can show them and tell them. And it does end up being a lot more telling than showing, because you get all of this character's interior thoughts and how they feel about everybody and how they think about everybody. And and this person's like this because I've known them for forever and this is how they are. So instead of like showing us these things, we get told a lot of these things. Not that first person has to be that way. I have read some really good first person, but it's, like I said, it's just very hard to pull off because it's just way too easy for the author to fall into that sort of telling and just spelling everything out for the reader because you're in the mind of this character and it's like the character's talking to you. But I don't want the character to tell me everything. I want to see things and learn things for myself. So I did feel like there was a lot of just telling everything, and also having it set up as a memoir didn't really work for me because a lot of the dialogue and the narration just felt very modern sometimes, and it would just pull me right out of the story. So I had a very hard time actually like getting into the story and feeling like I was in this world, which means that it took me a very long time to read. I was hoping that this would be like a 2 or 3 day read, and I think it was a couple weeks before I finally just like sat down and finished it. So dialogue and narration definitely felt very modern. There were also some like cultural things that felt more modern, or just things that the queen candidates were doing to get ready. And which, okay, by the way, if you don't know the story of Esther, very brief rundown. King Xerxes has a big party and his current queen will not come when he calls her, and he gets mad about that and ends up banishing her. And so now he needs a new queen. And so one of his in this book it's the Master of Audiences, but like one of his advisors is like, okay, well, we'll host a competition, basically. Like, we'll just gather all of the beautiful women in the land, all of the young unmarried women, and find the most beautiful ones, and then you can decide who you want. I mean, historically accurate, yes. And so Esther is one of these, and she is a Jew, and she is a believer in God, in the Hebrew God, and she's one of these candidates, and ends up saving a whole bunch of lives through this, because God has placed her in this in order to save all those lives. So anyway, that was a really terrible synopsis, but I do recommend the story of Esther. It's not a very long book in the Bible. I don't know how many chapters, but it is a really, really interesting read and just an incredible story. So definitely check out the actual book of Esther. And if you want to, check this one out, but I just thought that the writing and the characters were kind of lacking, in my opinion. And then since I know the plot, there wasn't any sense of like urgency on my part to finish it and see what happens because I know what's going to happen. So I was never on the edge of my seat because I'm familiar with the story, and it didn't have that pull for me. So then for the characters and the writing to be lacking, it just was a very difficult read. I do think there are probably some very historically accurate things in this book that you're not going to get from just the Bible story regarding the kingdom and how all of those politics worked. So that was interesting, if all of that can be believed. Like, if Tommy Tenney did his research and it's all historically accurate, which I don't know. I didn't look it up afterwards. I just read through and took everything with a grain of salt, kind of. Like, maybe this is accurate, maybe this is how it would have happened and how the kingdom life would have worked. Maybe not. I really don't know. But that was an interesting addition to the story, at least. It did give some new flavor to it. But as I was saying before I got on a rabbit trail about the story of Esther, some things that just felt very modernized were like how the young women presented themselves or what the beauty standards were. They were very modern beauty standards. And that just didn't feel accurate at all, and also pulled me out of the story because you're trying to make this historical setting. Everything needs to be historical. The characters need to speak in a historical way. And I don't mean like, oh, you can't use contractions and whatever. Like, there wasn't modern slang in it, but there were just phrasings that felt very strange, or felt like Queen Esther would not have said that, or Hadassah would not have said that, or, you know, like, it just felt strange. Or like King Xerxes didn't speak as formally as I feel like he should have often. So it was just things like that that just pulled me out of the story. Again, just had a very hard time getting through it, which is unfortunate because I really wanted to like it. Like I said, the story of Esther is such a fantastic story and such like an almost unbelievable story. Like, it's amazing that that happened. And I was really excited for this to be really good and to just put me in that story and just expound on it and make it come even more alive. And it just did the opposite for me. I did give it 3 stars just because I respect what Tommy Tenney is trying to do. I respect and admire that his intention was probably to bring the story to life and to get it to more people. People who aren't just going to sit down and read the Bible, you know, get the story in their hands. So I respect that. That's a wonderful goal. That's a great thing to do. It just didn't work, in my opinion. And I guess that's just it for the video. I don't really have anything else to say about Hadassah. I probably should try to pull out some things that I really loved about it, but I really just... I don't know. I really did like Jesse, but I wish that we had seen Jesse more, and I wish that we had gotten to know him instead of just Hadassah telling us, oh, this is my best friend, he's really cool. Like, I wish I had seen a little bit more of that. We get maybe 2 scenes with him, and then he's pretty much, you know, inconsequential for most of the book. So just things like that, where I'm like, oh, you had this really cool setup, or this cool character, or this cool opportunity, and it just didn't come across, or it didn't follow through. So anyway, okay, but with that, I will end the video, not trying to just put this book down, but just giving my honest thoughts. If you enjoyed the video and got something out of it, please leave a like and subscribe down below, and leave a comment. Do you know the story of Esther? What's your favorite Bible story? What story would you love to see turned into a novel and done like really, really well? There are so many fantastic ones to choose from. So many. But Esther is one where I would really love to see a better version than this. That sounds so mean to say, and I don't mean it that way, but just I would love if the story of Esther had like really come to life, even more than just, you know, reading it in the Bible. So anyway, okay, but go ahead and comment down below what story you would love to see, what Bible story you would love to see converted into a novel, a fully fleshed out novel. And I'll just end the video there. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, has it not been in focus this whole time?